All right, so first of all, shout out to one of my subscribers for providing me this story. This is a story about I'm about to play and provide my commentary. But this is a story out of Miami Gardens about a fake pimp pastor named Pastor Eric Redden, who is hustling and scamming his own people out of thousands of dollars. Okay. Houses, cars, other properties that this guy claims that he has, that he's trying to, give to people. And he's using the church as a scapegoat to lure these people in, trying to obviously paint the picture that he's a man of God, and when we all know that he's a false prophet. This is a pattern in the so-called black community that's been happening for a long time, right? And these are the things I want to talk about that you have to look out for. And I've been a part of these communities. I've been a part of the church community, the black church community. I'm going to go in on the Hotep hustlers, the Hebrew pimps, okay? These people in the so-called conscious community. I'm going to go all in, all right? I'm going to also address pyramid schemes, these companies that parade themselves as being multi-level marketing, right? These companies that black people don't do their research on, and they get caught up in these companies claiming they can get lots of money, and it just wind up being a scam altogether. I'm going to address all these things and just provide my opinion and commentary on this family. So with the first story, because when I saw this story, right, immediately I was thinking about, scam artists, period, right? In the quote unquote black community. I'm thinking about people who just scam people out of our own people out of thousands of dollars, selling them false dreams, false hopes, getting out of debt, right? Those kind of things. You get out of debt, or I'm going to give you this house and I'm going to give you this car. Trust me, I've been there, done that. I've ran across those types of people before. And, it's nothing new for me, but I just want to share with you this particular story and then provide you guys some other information regarding these predators, our own people, right? Out of our own community who's doing this to us, So let me play this story real quick and then provide my commentary. This is about the fake pastor, the pimp pastor out of Miami Gardens. Here you go.
A 70-year-old man's dreams shattered.
He didn't keep his word on anything.
Tonight, new allegations, new lawsuits against the South Florida pastor we exposed last month.
Talk to us, Pastor.
You need to be aware that this man is a cheater. He's all out for himself.
Part 2 of a Local 10 News investigation revealing more unholy acts.
An elderly man, retired, claims a South Florida pastor has taken him for more than $500,000 and tricked him into signing over his dream house.
Edward Fuller is the name. He's one of several people who contacted Local 10 News after our first investigation into the business practices of Miami Gardens pastor Eric Redden.
As we first reported last month, alleged victims claimed they loaned Redden money, handed over cash to rent homes, and gave him a deposit to buy his car.
All claimed they got nothing. Tonight, Local 10 investigator Jeff Weinseer is back on this case, still trying to get answers.
These are the electrical plans here. These are the permits. That's a picture of the backside of the house.
70-year-old Edward Fuller has the plans, the permits, the pictures.
I can walk through this house blindfolded and tell you exactly where everything is.
But he doesn't have his dream house. Fuller claims he was blindsided by this man, Pastor Eric Redden.
He sold my house.
He sold it.
He sold the house.
For how much?
February 13th. He sold the house for $380,000.
And how much did you get out of that?
I got not one red cent.
Fuller bought this piece of property 30 years ago and had a plan. After a 35-year career at the U.S. Post Office, his retirement project was to build his dream house for his family.
It was like my gift for my daughters once I was going on. It's just that simple.
After retirement, the walls, the roof went up. Fuller admits he ran out of money to finish. And that is when he claims one day Pastor Eric Redden just pulled up.
Never met him before.
Never met him before, never seen him before. And somehow he got the information that I was having a problem getting it completed.
Fuller claims Redden took him to a hard money lender for a loan.
I trusted him. I trusted him at that point.
Take a look at records. Project Youth Outreach Unlimited, a not-for-profit corporation, was made the contractor on a $125,000 construction loan. Pastor Eric Redden is the president of that not-for-profit. Oh, and there was a catch to get the loan.
In order to get the loan,
That's right.
you had to sign 50% of your property over to him.
That's correct.
Since conventional lenders had turned Fuller down, he agreed, and work on the house did begin, but the money ran out. The house was still not finished. Fuller claims in order to get more funds using his good credit, the pastor persuaded him to sign over the other 50% of the house so Fuller's credit would be free and clear, and that meant Project Youth Unlimited and Eric Redden now own the entire house.
I promise you, man, you're going to get your house back. This is what he told me. You're going to get your house back.
But it never happened. In fact, Fuller says he only learned Redden sold the house out from under him for $380,000 when he did a property record search.
I said, Eric, you sold my house. He said, I got my own personal money tied up in this house. And he said, I can't lose my money.
Hey, talk to us, Pastor.
Pastor got a
Eric Redden
BMW.
has canceled plans to talk to us on camera more than once. And as we reported first last month, others have told Local 10 News they gave Redden cash deposits to rent homes, buy cars. They've loaned him cash. And when things fell through and they demanded refunds, Redden calls up and says,
You think you can come after me? You don't know who you're dealing with.
He's gonna come after me and my job.
He say he can't be touched.
the legal troubles against this pastor are mounting. According to these court records, Black Rain Capital has filed suit against Pastor Redden and his church for fraud, negligence, and civil theft. Black Rain says they fronted Redden money to buy houses and trusted him because he was, quote, a man of God. An attorney for Black Rain says Redden never repaid or split proceeds from the sale of properties. Court records also show Pastor Redden was ordered to take an anger management class after sending harassing emails, including a picture of a dead body to an attorney in a custody issue case involving his son. All this coming from a pastor, a man who constantly shows up at tragic events around South Florida to preach to others, to do the right thing.
If somebody saw something, to say something.
And they need to be brought to justice. You need to be aware that this man is a cheater. He's all out for himself.
Pastor Redden has called the Local 10 newsroom and my personal cell phone several times. In one of those conversations, he acted as though he was my best friend. Said we should work together to, quote, fry bigger fish. We declined that opportunity, but we'd certainly like to sit down and interview him one-on-one about his business practices. That invitation still stands. In the newsroom, Jeff Wines here, Local 10 News.
Jeff, thanks a lot. Ed Fuller says he did take his case to the Miami-Dade Police Department, but was told because he willfully signed papers and was not forced to, it was a civil matter. He has yet to find an attorney to take his case. And we do want to point out here that some people who were featured in our first story did get refunds as we started asking questions.
Let me first start off by saying, for the guy who got scammed, the 70-year-old guy, he looks good for 70 years old. I mean, I know a lot of, people around his age, they can't even walk upright. And this man, looks really good for his age at 70. Hopefully, God willing, I can look that way when I'm up in that age as well. So much props for him, the way he looks. With this particular story, it's unfortunate. And again, this is something that's a pattern within the quote unquote black community. You have these pimp pastors who got these damn churches in low income, impoverished areas within, predominantly black areas. Churches on every corner, literally in low income areas, right? You see that pattern. I've talked about this before. No changes in our condition within the community, but it's a church on every corner, right? What does that tell you? And so, this is what I've addressed before about churches, especially the history of the black church. I've stated the black church is just a solace, a safe haven, a coping mechanism for everyday life, aka systemic oppression, which is white supremacy. That's it. That's all it is. It's, you escape for 2-3 hours. It's called escapism. You escape reality for 2-3 hours inside of a building. And then when you go outside of the building, you're right back to reality. You're right back into your low income area. You're right back into a crime infested, drug infested area. That's exactly what it is. And so pastors like this guy, Eric Redden, or I should say fake pastors, right? And I'm not saying that, all pastors are like Eric Redden, right? It's just what it is that this is the reality of the situation. These kind of fake pastors, these pimp pastors, overshadow the real ones who do tangible things in the community, right? So in this situation here, this is nothing new. These particular guys, these false prophets, these fake pastors, these pimps, they are guys who suck up, right, hope, dreams, and aspirations in the community. They utilize religion as a tactic to lure people in regarding things that people may need or want. Okay. This goes back to what I always talk about with Margaret Sanger. Okay. Margaret Sanger had a great quote, which I always talk about, where she said, the most successful educational approach to the Negro is through a religious appeal. So you have these fake pastors, these pimp pastors, they use Christianity, they use the Bible as a luring mechanism to soften the blow of what they're really trying to do. Is just scam you out of money, scam you out of thousands of dollars, right? And unfortunately, this man who's 7 years old was a victim to that. Okay. So these are the things that you have to look out for. When you see a damn pastor, right, who has a church in an area that's crime infested, low income, high crime, schools are failing schools, D schools, F schools, you really got to ask yourself, well, why is this church in the community and the community is not better? What has this particular church done for the community, or churches? All of these churches in the community and the neighborhood is still bad. You got to ask yourself that. Why is this happening still, right? Those are the things you got to ask yourself, right? Why is this pastor driving around in a BMW or a Bentley or Rolls Royce, which I've seen firsthand? I've seen pastors drive around in those kind of cars. Why is this man driving around in these expensive cars, but yet our community is in shambles, right? Those are the things you got to ask yourself when you come across these kind of situations. And here's the thing, family, like in terms of this man who's 7 years old, who got scammed out of thousands of dollars, hopefully he gets his money back and gets his house back as well. And speaking of which, he says, according to the last segment of the video, he has no representation right now. Nobody's volunteered or decided to take the case on with this man. Where are the black lawyers at? Freedom fighters, where y'all at? Y'all need to step up and take the case of this man to get this guy's money back and get his house back, and do a full investigation on this guy, Eric Redden. Straight up, where y'all at? Right? So again, like I said, unfortunately, religion is the easiest appeal to black people to lure you into many different facets of scamming. That's what white supremacists like Margaret Sanger knew, because she studied black people. She studied our behavior. She knew our weaknesses. She knew our strengths. And people like Eric Redden, they know our weakness, which is religion. You can talk a good game about the Bible and Bible study and pastoring and show up to these protests show up to these, these senseless acts within our community like he did, it's all a scam. You have to look out for that. But again, the telltale signs of these pastors, and I'm gonna get in on these Hotep hustlers and these Hebrew hustlers, these Hebrew pimps in a minute. You got to look out for signs of what have they done for the community. What have they done? Right? Look out for those signs. That's how you can tell if someone's genuine or someone's scamming you. Right? So, and speaking of scamming, this is a segue to, the so-called conscious community, the black conscious community, which I've been a part of. I said I was a part of. Since 2013, 2012. And then I completely separated myself the end of 2016 because I was making videos about people in the so-called conscious community. You can check back in my older videos. I was making videos about Brother Polite, and I was doing lectures with Dr. Umar Johnson. I actually brought him down several times out of my own money, right? Check my videos. I've interviewed Dr. Umar Johnson. I've interviewed people in the so-called conscious community like Dr. Kaba Cabernet. I've done panel discussions. Just check my history, family. Check my older videos. You'll see I've done all that stuff in the past. So with this particular story, this reminded me of what Brother Polite is doing. Brother Polite is known heavily in the so-called conscious community. The brother is a gifted speaker. I will say that he's a gifted speaker, right? But when it comes to people like him selling you things, selling you goods and services, for example, he's selling you things like status correction and UCC and sovereignty and all that kind of stuff. It's all a fraud. I've been saying that since day one. It's all fake and it's all a scam, right? Now, regardless of what you see in terms of the last time I saw a video of him was like last year. He was living out in Beverly Hills. He had a Rolls Royce, living good. He had his wife. Well, I don't like to say the brother has multiple wives. He has concubines. Let's just keep it real. He has concubines. That's what he has. He has multiple concubines. It's all fake. It's all a facet. It's all to lure you in to really think that, okay, this man looks successful. Maybe I should just get with him regarding status correction and see if I can correct my status. First of all, like I said before in past videos, status correction is an oxymoron. You can't correct your status in the system of white supremacy. You can't do that. It's impossible. We live in a global system of white supremacy. You cannot correct one's status in a system that's controlled and owned and operated by the dominant white society. It's impossible. You first need to replace the entire system of injustice with a system of justice. Right? So again, status correction is an oxymoron. It's completely implausible. Okay? Implausible. All right? And I've saw stories about Brother Polite has a ex concubine named, I think her name is Wright or something like that. Something like that. I had Googled Hotep hustlers, and let me look at the images that come up. You see, these are the images that come up when you Google Hotep hustlers. But anyway, he was dealing with some chick named Wright, and this chick that he was dealing with, or in a former relationship or whatever the case may be, got pregnant by a R&B singer, music soul child, allegedly. So that's very interesting. That's interesting. Here's a picture of Brother Polite right here. I type in Hotep hustlers and here he comes right here. So there you go. Okay. But yeah, so people like Polite, people like even Dr. Umar Johnson, like I said, I've dealt with Dr. Umar Johnson many a times. And one thing I can say about him is he has a ego-driven agenda. It's all about him. Okay, so Dr. Umar Johnson is a church. Let's just keep it real. He is a church. Okay. Now, during the time I was dealing with Dr. Umar Johnson, as far as bringing him down for lectures, he would just started his fundraising campaign for a school, for a, completely independent black school. And to this day, he's still collecting money, which is very interesting, right? And in the past videos, I should have had it set up for you, but I've talked about this in past videos with Dr. Umar Johnson and his school that he wanted to purchase out in Virginia. And the property that he wanted to buy the school, I wish I had the information in front of me. I should have had it already set up for you, but from what I remember, to purchase a school, all you needed was a small down payment. I think the property was up for sale for about $2-3 million. I could be wrong, but all you needed was a 10% deposit to secure the school. From my understanding, from his fundraising, he's raised well over $500,000. I could be off. I haven't checked it recently. But again, he's raised more than enough money. And my point is, he's raised more than enough money to secure a down payment and get the school. But till this day, he has not done that. So that lets you know what's going on, right? And he's come out in videos before I saw in the past, vehemently denying this. Oh, yeah, I haven't used the money, or I haven't done this, that, and the third, right? Again, it's all about actions. That particular property that was up for sale is public records. And I even actually called the real estate agent. I remember back in like 2015, I called the real estate agent directly. I said, has anybody decided to, make a down payment for your school, for the school that's up for sale? And the man said no. So, that's what it is, family. So yeah, I these guys, Dr. Umar Johnson, Brother Polite, Sinetta, House of Consciousness, all these guys, I pull in the same category. All right, they all have their own agenda. I would say this: you can learn from these guys, right? You can learn from all of these guys. You can learn from Dr. Umar Johnson, which I've learned plenty of from him. I've learned plenty of from Brother Polite. I've learned plenty of things from Sinetta and House of Consciousness and the people he had on his panel. I've learned lots of things, but do not deal with them outside of that. When you want to give them money, don't do it. Don't do it. All right, unless you can write it off, I would just not even do that. I would not even deal with these brothers in terms of exchanging money for goods or services. Don't do it. All right? Don't do it. And, on another thing is in terms of goods and services, I've dealt with people in these companies doing these multi-level marketing campaigns and stuff like that. I was trying to look for the company who I was dealing with back in the day. I believe it was ZG International. It might have been them, but I remember these people, and this was actually set up, believe it or not, this was actually set up by my real estate agent who sold me my house. She contacted me about Moringa, right? And I still use Moringa to this day. I don't use it through this company. I buy it through an independent, black-owned, holistic site. It's called dherbs.com. But anyway, she contacted me about a presentation for Moringa, and she and this other dude came to my house, I believe. And actually, this dude was a pastor, actually, who came to my house. He flew down. He said he flew down just to do a presentation for me, which is a lie. But he flew down with my real estate agent, and they did a presentation about Moringa and products and how to get other people to buy into this particular, business scheme, if you will. And I wasn't buying it. I wasn't buying it figuratively and literally. I was not buying it when they did that presentation. I was not buying it because I knew what time it was. You know what I'm saying? With these pyramid schemes, aka multi-level marketing companies, I knew what time it was. So I did not deal with them at all whatsoever. And it was kind of sad that my own real estate agent got caught up in this this kind of business, to make it seem like it's legit because I dealt with her on a real estate side, and I should deal with her regarding this particular multi-level marketing scheme with Moringa. You know what I'm saying? So, I knew what time it was, and I didn't deal with them at all whatsoever. So, these are the type of things that you got to look out for. All these different fringe groups. You got people in the church community, people in the so-called conscious community, Hebrew hustlers. I've dealt with those kind of people before as well, trying to recruit you and stuff like that on the streets. They're wearing their damn costumes. I call them costumes out in the street. I'm like, well, damn, why don't you do this right here? Why don't you preach this message in front of a more affluent community like Aventura, right? Or somewhere around those lines in, Star Island, where those multi-million-dollar homes are. Why don't you do it over there instead of in these low-income areas preaching this message about, all of these people in the Bible, are the real Hebrews and all this kind of stuff, right? So that's the thing I would say to myself about these Hebrew Israelites, right? So yeah, I mean, again, all of these particular facets within the so-called black community, fake pastors, Hotep hustlers, Hebrew pimps, even regular people who have everyday 9-to-5s are caught up in these business pyramid scheme companies. Look out for all facets of this stuff. Don't be fooled by a religious appeal, because that's what they fool you with. A religious appeal and a friendly appeal, right? That's how they get you. And the religious appeal doesn't necessarily have to be a quote unquote real religion. It can be a business dealing. As long as you have a relationship with someone in a previous engagement, like my real estate agent who helped me get my house. She said that was the foot in the door to get me to get into a multi-level pyramid scheme, right? Because I dealt with her before on a business level, which I've garnered a trust with her. So just be on the lookout for those kind of stuff and be smart. Do your research and just connect the dots. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, family, those are my thoughts on that, about this topic. Leave your comments down below. Let me know in the comments section if you dealt with these kind of situations before with these pyramid scheme companies. What's that one that's real popular in the community? Motor Club America or something like that. Let me know if you dealt with companies like that in the past. Let me know if you've dealt with, Hotep hustlers and fake pastors in your experience. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section, family. All right. Until next time, make sure you follow me on social media on Instagram and Twitter at The Black Separatists. All right, family. Both links will be down below in the description. Until next time, Chauncey, a.k.a. The Black Separatist, signing out. Peace.